Hi, in this episode, we are going to do a movie review of Deadpool. Deadpool. So here's a short version, and then I'll go into some other just stuff about the character. Okay, so here's what Deadpool is. Ryan Reynolds puts on a Spider-Man costume. It's Spider-Man, but pockets. He puts on his military Spider-Man costume. And then he signs up for an experiment, and he's a killer and a bad guy, but he's a cool guy because he, beats up pizza boys and stuff for being stalkers, and he's just small potatoes. But then he signs up for this thing for a government where this boring, forgettable villain that's just some British guy that isn't anything. That it just is a crap villain. It's not even like a cool character actor that could make, you know what I mean? It could be anything, this bad guy. And instead you just get this boring, forgettable guy. Henchman is the boss. I don't know what it is with the Marvel movies and shitty villains, but here's another one. So then Ryan Reynolds gets his face all burned, but he gets his superpowers from being tortured, basically. Let the government torture you and you'll get your superpowers if you survive. So he gets superpowers and he survives, but he's ugly. Now, this is a guy who murders people for a living. He's a mercenary. He's a hired killer. And then he gets, you see how he loves this woman and everything, and he gets fucked in the ass by her even. And then he can't show his face because it's all burned up. You know what I mean? Like, why wouldn't he just... This is the guy who'll do fucking anything, right? Wait in somebody's apartment for a long time just to go after the pizza that he had delivered there and all this bullshit. And he's not going to go walk to the woman and just say, I love you. So they make this flimsy idea that the movie's about a love story, but it's just a flimsy, threadbare movie to string along jokes and like hyper violence. And all that is done very well. And then they throw in a lesbian and a robot at the end. And two lesbians, I'm sorry. They're both strong women. And then Deadpool has a girlfriend that ultimately is like, why didn't they just cast somebody cool? Again, cast a cool character actress. They just hired a nothing hot chick. Sorry. And just like they just hired like a nothing handsome bad guy villain because they're like, well, he's Ryan Reynolds. He's really handsome. He has to go up against a handsome bad guy. And I'm like, for starters, it's a guy in a mask. It's Spider-Man most of the time in a mask. Spider-Man with violence and cursing, right? That's what Deadpool is. So now I'll go into the history of Deadpool. When I was in high school, I read Fantagraphics comics, and I didn't read superhero stuff. No Marvel, no DC. But my friends in high school did. And they hated Deadpool, if I remember correctly. Because when I was in high school, Deadpool was invented. And everybody just said, can they do that? It's just Spider-Man. Because he's even like a guy that, does quips and stuff, but like more extreme and exaggerated and goes further than Spider-Man. So... It's a Liefeld character, Deadpool. So it's Spider-Man with pockets. And then Liefeld made a whole bunch of characters that were just like the Spider-Man thing. And then McFarlane was the Spider-Man artist. So then when he went and opened his own company, he did his own version of Spider-Man, the horror Spider-Man. And this was Liefeld's black and like, what do we can do to make Spider-Man cool? Let's give him more pouches and, guns. And make it black instead of red and blue. That's dumb. Like, let's make it red and black. That's cooler. And then they did. That's Deadpool. That's all Deadpool is. It's just like Spider-Man without webs. In Wolverine's healing factor. It's just a mashup. Let's mash up Spider-Man and Wolverine. Let's put together, a hairy asshole, but we'll burn all his hair off. And then we'll put him with all the cool shit Spider-Man does, except we can have his hands get cut off and all that stuff. And he gets stabbed and everything. To be funny, it was like... That was Liefeld's invention for Marvel. He has known it. And then, did they put Stan Lee in this movie? I just wish they put Stan Lee in. They should make a thing where Stan Lee gets killed in every Marvel movie. That should be the new thing. So anyway, Deadpool. I remember seeing it. I saw this in the theater. And then I rented it. So that's where this review comes from. So actually I didn't rent it. It was just given to me to borrow and I watched it. And the second time I saw it, I thought, it's just forgettable, which is what I thought the first time after I saw it. I was like, this is really neat for now that they did this, and it looks good, because they did spend some money on it, even though they said they didn't. They did spend some money on it. And it looks good, but you can always get away with more when something's like can take can do violence and comedy in that weird balancing act, which I don't really go for, but I know it's working because they keep making movies like that, so it doesn't matter what my opinion is in that regard. But I just thought, it's not so great. And I'm not picking on Ryan Reynolds, but I was never like a fan of his. In Waiting, I thought he was good because I was like, I could believe that he was that guy at the restaurant. But everything else, it's like, I don't like it. I just feel like he's doing like a Chevy Chase, Bill Murray thing. Like he saw that stuff when he was a kid. He grew up. Now he's the guy, and he's just doing that thing, you know. And that started with Van Wilder. It's just Chevy Chase in Caddyshack. That's all. And so Deadpool, it's just forgettable. That's what I think. I think people think it's great now because they like that character, but I'm not a fan of it. I don't have like a personal investment in the comic book, so I don't have that to paste onto it. I'm just looking at it as a movie that I knew that my friends in high school thought he was a Spider-Man ripoff. I mean, maybe they like him now. It really depends on who writes the story, what the character becomes. But I thought the movie was like, I wonder what the movie looks like to people who don't know what Deadpool is, and they're like, it's just this neat movie where weird stuff happens. Because for me, that's what Guardians of the Galaxy was. It was this weird movie, like, what is this? And I hadn't seen it before, and neat stuff happens. But then since I've seen it again, I'm like, oh yeah, like I just want to chop out this whole beginning part with the cassette tape and his mother and all the heart and everything that people, the fake pathos or whatever you want to say that they threw on top of it. And I just want to get to the part where they're at the outside mall or airport in the future, whatever the hell that place is supposed to be, where all the guys meet and they're chased. They could just start there. I don't care anything about the backstory. Just show them getting sucked up in a spacecraft and then show them running. Anyway, and then it's also mean, like he's kicking around alien life forms and stuff. I'm like, this guy's a fucking asshole. But I don't know, maybe that's what it's like when you're plucked out of Earth in the 70s or early 80s or whatever the hell that was, and then you just grow up out of era into whatever weird space. I don't know. Why the hell am I talking about this? Anyway, Deadpool, I liked it. I think people like Deadpool and Guardians of the Galaxy because they were two different things. They're like, oh, we haven't seen this before. And Deadpool, when he was in the movies before, never did anything. He was just like, a faceless thing to fight at the end, a boogeyman or whatever. So now we get the Deadpool movie and people like it. They'll do more. I just think, who gives a shit? Like, it's like, who cares? But maybe it's not for me. Yep, that's enough. That's episode.